Hey everybody, it's Yuginshin here again with another build. So every league for both PoE 1 and PoE 2, I've seen the same Reddit post every time. Is there a Death Knight style character or build in PoE? And the answer every time from everyone in the Reddit is, not really. In PoE, you either scale yourself or your minions. Scaling both makes both worse than expected for the content. And ever since first seeing some Ash for this build, I've been thinking that it must be possible, but PoE 1 never allowed it to work. PoE 2 comes along and I keep seeing it asked, and now I'm thinking, yeah, in PoE 2 with weapon swap passes and temp minion snapshotting, it should be possible. The answer, ladies and gentlemen, is the build I have for you today. The goal, a World of Warcraft inspired Death Knight with undead minions and frost and unholy attacks. Here was the plan. Number 1, get to level 78 to 84. Second, equip the Twisted Empyrean for the frost aesthetic. 3. Set up a plus minion gems weapon swap. 4. Mana stack for defense and damage. 5. Utilize runic minions and concussive runes as rune magic for the DK. 6. Summon zombies. 7. Put on some cool Death Knight style MTX. No plan survives contact with the enemy. The first thing is summon zombies needs power charges to actually make good zombies. Next, how do you get power charges? Well, how I thought would be Vol's Protector and Oracle, because then you always crit, you always generate power charges to spend for your zombies. Perfect. And then I realized if I'm not level 78 to 84, I can't even equip the mace. So I had to level. For a long time. This has been over a week in the making to put this build together, and I'm still unhappy with it. So, what happened? I make it to maps. I try to level to hit 75, and buy the mace, and on the way there I thought about, oh, Eventide petals. That's a great unique for this. More ice, more good. But leveling in maps, a horrible realization occurred. The zombies were doing garbage damage. The new fix was full Sin Reward bound minions. Those actually did okay until they started doing garbage damage. The newer fix, I was going to use Fissure Stacking and Earthshaker to fix damage, which I got from a nice guy on the subreddit. He didn't know I got it from him, but if he's here, he'll know. Then I dropped the zombies entirely. And I dropped the Vol's Protector. And after that, I find the power of the Bodach. Once I put on Vestige of Darkness, something magical happened. I had a minion fighting alongside me, and it was ghoulish. Perfect. Then I realized we can drop the whole weapon swap minion gimmick. I did so and made it to level 78, having fun with a new evil spirit. Then I bought the unique mace Saddest Mercy to try it out. It still synergized with my new friend and summoned apparitions, which would be sort of like spirits. Now I have undead. It was fun. Put on a Svalin. More blue. Wasn't right. It's not what I wanted. It has to be a two-handed mace. Death Knights are either dual wield or two-hander. That is it. After hitting 78, we bought the Twisted Empyrean and Eventide petals. We put them on, thought it'd be amazing. Nothing froze. Respect the whole tree, dropped all the minion nodes, and most of the random defensive pathing. Picked up real damage, got freezes, was great. Got the tier 11. But it's okay. I pushed through, reworked the entire tree again, and got actual upgrades like plus gem levels and some actual mana. Not a lot, we're still under 2,000. And learned the power of critical damage bonus and critical hit chance in Oracle. Now at level 86, I can run tier 15s without much issue. When I first got the Bodach on my side, he did more damage than me. Now we are partners. He handles the mobs that are outside of my reach and slams alongside me against the stronger ones. Progress has been mostly smooth now. I still haven't finished the trees or done the quest version of Burning Monolith. The damage is good enough for me right now. We got Refutation to solve the constant stuns, which was pain points. And we got Blasphemy Repulsion to get cold exposure on hit because we always crit. And the Bodach hitting can apply it this way. Alright, so now that story time is over, I'll do a quick rundown of the Death Knight and how it works in my imagination. This video hopefully finds those who want to put things that aren't PoE into PoE, so they can instead find the PoE version of what they want. You can't put Death Knight from World of Warcraft into PoE 1-to-1. It doesn't work. So before showing off the specifics of the build, this idea in general is hampered by only having maces as an option. There's just not much we can do about that right now, but Death Knights can use a mace, I'm quite sure of it, in World of Warcraft, so this should still be flavorfully functional. We put some MTX on, try to get this Death Knight flavor. The Swirling Darkness is not an MTX. I believe that is my helmet, which is actually quite interesting. So we'll start with the Ascendancy choice. I chose Oracle for a few reasons that never really panned out how I imagined they would, right? So Unseen Paths was supposed to be there for the temporary minion count nodes and the extra shared damage nodes that are really powerful. They are actually powerful, it's just not on this. The second point was inevitable crits, because I was going to use Eventide petals for even more cold, even more ice themed stuff for this Frost DK, because that's the closest thing we have in this game, I believe, without going into just being a summoner. And I was going to use Vol's Protector for power charges for Raise Zombie. The Druid side of the tree is close to both the mace stuff and minion stuff, so we can use our weapon swap points, so we can have a minion weapon and we can have a melee weapon that we would switch to when we summon our zombies. That was the plan, or our ward-bound minions, right? Then we were going to take Align Fate to cast Profane Ritual, or even ward-bound minions if possible, if balls didn't work out. But I believe I started getting out of that idea immediately when I thought about it's going to use my mace to cast my spells and to summon my minions. And that just goes against everything. So what we ended up doing, we went to Lesser Harm, which you have to, so that you can actually get to Inevitable Critical, worst outcome. We're still doing this because it actually is still very strong for our own damage. And then we go from there to take Unseen Path still, because even though it didn't pan out for what I wanted, it had a lot of power that I didn't think about when I originally came up with this idea and got married to this Death Knight. And then Entwined Realities to save some points. I just got this. I don't know what to use it for yet, really, aside from what I have already. And that's sort of why the Ascendancy and what the Ascendancy. Now, when it comes to the tree, there is some shenanigans here that's not good, right? We don't have mana stacking going on here. And I haven't taken this mana wheel yet, because I started out going to grab this so we could have our minions last longer, because that was the original goal. So this whole pathing is sort of wrong. As you can see, this is added in later, because it doesn't make any sense to do this if I realized these nodes were here. I forgot these existed. These make the character so much stronger. But so anger management right here, we're taking this for 15 max rage, and we're getting this off of Scarred Faith, which we're not leveraging at all. We really don't even use our energy shield anyway. Don't even need it. It's just there. I probably should find a way to convert it to something, but it's just too far away right now. And that's of course from our special passives. Then we're getting Call Upon the Deep, which is giving us some damage penetration, a lot of it actually, when we use our Starborn Assault, which is up all the time, right? Then we're taking Calculated Hunter, which I also totally forgot about, and it gave us so much damage. And then we're going up here for Ancestral Bond, which grabs us Storm Charged for penetration and attack speed with elemental skills, which would mean our Fissure, because that is an elemental fire skill. And we're grabbing Dangerous Blossom for damage's extra fizz. It's not a lot of damage, but it is something. It's a very efficient node at that point. It's like 4% damage. And then we're taking Dimensional Weak Spot, because that actually does help a lot. So if we can invert positives and then penetrate them, that can be a lot of damage. Now, we're also, of course, grabbing some Armor ES. This doesn't really belong here anymore. This is a holdover from an old tree. We're getting this crit chance. We're getting this area and area of stunned, which is not super relevant either. We're taking these rage on hits, this personal touch here, the skill speed, the mana cost for it, the life cost is irrelevant, but the skill speed is necessary to make us feel good, I feel like. Once we mentioned these already, grabbing this cold damage node here with some damaging chilled, because everyone's always chilled. We're taking Prism Guard with armor applies to fire, so we're getting 50% of that basically for free. We're going down here for Split the Earth. This is for aftershocks. That's really all we're using it for. The strike splash isn't valuable, but the aftershock sometimes does double proc our fissures, which can be very powerful when we're spamming Earth Shatter specifically. And then we go up and grab this whole wheel, like both sides of it, because this is just more crit bonus, more crit attack damage, and some stun, which is nice when we're not freezing. Oh yeah, jewels. So we also have this Heart of the Well for cold and chaos damage. It was like 1 div at the time, so it's what it is. The chaos isn't super useful, but it's something. The cold damage is very nice though. That was a big damage upgrade. We have an accuracy, elemental damage, crit bonus jewel here, which wasn't too super expensive either because it's not that great, but I noticed our accuracy was really low. So I had made sure to pick up some % accuracy where I could. And then up here, we have crit damage bonus, some attack speed, some accuracy. We were pathing up to this jewel socket, but we just haven't gotten there yet. And I don't plan to at this point. I'm sort of done with this character because I just don't like maces. So let's move on to the skills now. So looking at the skills, let's scroll to the top. There's this Mace Strike. We're not using it. Mace Strike is not part of this build. All these supports in it, the Uruk Smelting, sort of meaningless. Starborn Onslaught, on the other hand, is quite powerful. It's a solid nuke ability, the meteors help with clear, but the fissures are the main point of the skill. So, how this sort of works is you throw it down, it hits, does solid amount of damage up front, it spawns a bunch of fissures and then branch, so it's basically a free Calm's Madness volcanic fissure skill, but it has a much higher damage multiplier than it otherwise should. I really want to go ahead and get the Starfall here, because the stars themselves are 319% damage. The hit is about this, which isn't bad for this L18 version to begin with. And the fissures last a long time. So you put down the fissures, you can then trample over them. It's really nice. And it's supported with Cold Attunement, Biting Frost, which this is so that the enemy's already frozen most of the time for a boss when we throw this. So it's going to up front deal a lot of extra damage, like 6% more damage to a boss on the first hit, which is nice. And then it has Elemental Armament for more elemental attack damage, and it's going to be ancestrally boosted because it is a slam. So that's pretty nice. Then we're using Refutation. This skill is really powerful. It helps out a lot with our stun problem. So this is supported with prolonged duration and cooldown recovery. What was happening before I had this was I would get stunned out of all of my attempts at Volcanic Fissure. Now I am always unable to be light stunned while this is active, which is what was stopping me, was getting light stunned out of my moves. So now I can actually land my fissures in the spots where it matters the most after activating this. So that's been the main thing. The parry debuff is also pretty massive when it procs. Like, that just lets you shred some enemies down. It's really nice because it's a more takes multiplier, which I've never even heard of a takes more multiplier in PoE before, but I believe that means it's going to stack with your shock in a way that's actually beneficial. So now we have Infernal Cry. There was another link here, but I ran out of decks at one point, so I had to take it out. And this is being used, the empowered attacks part is okay, it's not super important. The explosion, not super important. We're really using this to explode Earth Shatter. So we're have it supported by Raging Cry, Tireless, which I don't know if this even is helping. I don't know if the empowerment is useful here. And Enrage Warcry 2, which is just to make it basically free. We're going to be able to spam this as much as we want in combat. Now, the fun part of the build is this Blasphemy setup. We're using a Blasphemy with Repulsion. This makes Repulsion have no work cost and constantly reapply, which is very powerful. This 5 uses it's always available. It may as well say infinite uses. It's really just, oh, on a boss, you'll have to wait for it sometimes. But this is my damage. This is me hitting the enemy no matter what procs the Repulsion. What that lets us do is boost its area, yes, because it's a curse, but we can put cold exposure. This lets us get cold exposure we get exposure for free because we're an Oracle, we always crit. So with a little bit of added cold damage, with the damages extra from that Heart of the Well Jewel, we're always applying exposure to every enemy on the screen. Doesn't matter if I hit it or the Bodach, which is massive. And then we have our Volcanic Fissure. This one has Calm's Madness, which gets us maximum branches and maximum fissures. Like this basically makes not even branches, just maximum fissures straight up, which is very good at getting the fissures to overlap. We have Fist of War 2, because I believe this actually applies to the fissures, which is nice. We have Magnified Area for longer fissures. It helps armor for more damage. This is our bread and butter. We throw this down, we slam on it, we run on it, we even throw the Starborn Onslaught down on top of it. It just does everything. It's part of every part of the build. Then we have our Stampede. So Stampede has cold attunement because it may as well, because it doesn't have natural cold damage anyway, because it's a fizz move. So the cold damage it gets is going to come from the weapon, which is only 50-50 cold and physical. So this helps out with making it more cold. And then we have Aftershock 2 on it, which is nice because high chance to Aftershock, plus the quality makes it 55% chance to Aftershock. Then the tree puts us up to 65, which is often enough. Fist of War 2 for the free Ancestral boost, because there's no reason not to on this skill. And the interesting part is Shocking Leap. So the first time this critically hits something, it will leave Shocking Ground. And because we're an Oracle, we always critical hit. So this is just free Shocking Ground for 4 seconds. That's good enough, right? It just boosts our damage for free, no real downside. We have to pair that with our exposure and all this stuff. Now, Earth Shatter is the main skill, is our DPS. And it seems that it multi-hits fissures, branching fissure, and the aftershocks it causes will also multi-hit the fissures too. So you can sometimes get 6 fissure procs on, or maybe even 8, I don't even know how it quite works, possibly 8 fissure procs per attack, which is crazy. So we're using branching fissures too, because this basically puts out 3 spikes, because Earth Shatter calls its spikes fissures, which is very funny. Like, it basically sends out a fissure that deals area damage to enemies, so it sends out a fissure. Now we're sending out multiple fissures from that one. And because they're branching, they can shotgun. As far as I'm aware. That's at least how it worked with Glacial Fissure on the Monk. And then, of course, we can blow them up. And we'll be able to blow 3 spikes at once, which is really powerful. And with the limit of 6 spikes, every 2 autos, the spikes go away, but that's fine. But what we're getting here is Rapid Attacks 2, Concentrated Area for more damage because the AoE on the skills are relevant, and Aftershock 2 so it can proc twice sometimes. That's really nice. And the explosion does very good damage as well. Like, this is a nuke. So that's how we actually kill bosses for real. And then finally we have Mana Remnants. This is just for giving us remnants on kill against chilled enemies and frozen enemies, which is all of them. And we spawn one on critically hitting an enemy that is chilled, which is all of them, because we always crit. So this is just infinite mana regain during combat. It's not actually boosting our damage or anything. It's just solving some survivability woes of running out of mana from getting hit too much. Which shouldn't happen. We should die before we run out of mana. But it has Remnant Potency 3, which just delays it so you don't waste as much of it. And we have Harmonic Remnants to make them pick up from further away, so you don't have to run over them as much. This should be Harmonic Remnants 2, I just forgot. So that's our skills. Now, the next thing we have to look at is our gear. The gear is very simple. We're using the Twisted Impurity. This is a level 78 version. We have socketed in it elemental damage with attacks and runic ward based off its maximum damage. So I don't really know what to socket in here, so that's why these are here. This is not a perfect version of the weapon. There is a rune mastered variant that can roll, additional fissures, which is really powerful, or it can roll 300% freeze buildup, or massive amount of physical damage, or a massive amount of conversion to cold damage. So this is the base version. It's only a level 18 skill, and the main reason we're picking it out of everything is this is a Death Knight. We needed Frost, because when you think of Death Knight, you think of Northrend, you think of the Lich King. So we have convert fire with mace skills to cold damage, and Twisted Empyrean specifically changes the animation to this ice spikes of our all of that beautifulness. It's amazing. I absolutely adore that. It's the best part of the character to me, is that, aside from what we get to next. So that helps out a lot. This one happened to be a 20% damage taken from mana before life, so I went all in on getting more of that stat where I could. I'm not stacking mana. I should, I'm just not, because that's beyond what I want to think about, right? And I want to just get this character done. I'm sort of tired of maces. I'm tired of all that. I want to make a character that's just straightforward and finish the rest of the game out comfortably. So that's the next thing. But the reason we're doing the maximum runic ward for 50% of the weapon's maximum damage is specifically for refutation. We need to be able to pay for that, because refutation, the more ward you spend, the more stun threshold it gives you back, because it takes away 50% to start if you spend none. So if you spend every 10, it gives you back another 5%. So if you're spending 200, that'll cover itself, generally. It covered itself enough that you can actually not just die from the heavy stuns, which is fine. It'll work. The crit chance here is nice because it goes very well with Oracle's inherent crit bonus of just being able to always crit, because this makes it so you're going to crit more often, so you lose less crit multi. So this is just a great item in general. I actually really like this weapon. I just wish it wasn't a mace, because mace skills, there's not enough of them. That's just it. There's just not enough mace skills. Mace needs more love. Now, we can move on to the most important item in the entire character that saved the whole build for me. I was going to abandon this like a week ago, after spending a week suffering with trying to make this character function. And it's the Vestige of Darkness. This, I bought this way. This is not a good one. It's what it is. This item is amazing. So, this is the Bodach. That's all it is. Nothing else about this item is nearly as important as the Bodach haunts your presence. Now, we'll get to what that means in terms of what that changed this build to, but the physical damage from hits solves Stampede, and Earth Shatter's main problem is they don't have any fire inherently. So what that does is lets me treat them like cold for the purposes of freeze, which means every bit of damage this build does now can freeze, so it freezes very reliably, which is very nice. Now, the enemies in your presence are blinded. I forgot that note was on here till a little while ago, and it is useful. That's probably the reason for the black smoke around the character. But what this lets you do is use blindside support for more crit multi and more crit chance. I don't have it on there right now because I couldn't fit the dexterity yet. But that's going to be something that's probably very powerful to do with this item across builds, at least for melee. Because if they're always blinded, you're always able to use blindside forever on every skill, which just seems absurd. So this is just a good item to begin with. Not to mention the chill and freeze on Fizz makes everything so much smoother for a lot of characters that convert their damage half to cold. It just smooths it all out. So I think this is going to be a powerful item going forward, especially because the Bodach. No one knows really what this guy does. It seems like he has a set of moves that he does based off the power of the enemies in the area that are in your presence. And this range of presence seems to go to the edge of the screen. I don't know why. I don't have increased presence on this character, but I'll be doing like my the hourglass trial in Trial of Secumus. I'll be fighting one enemy, and the Bodach's on the other side of the screen, soloing another rare, just by himself. It's amazing. He'll swipe, which is a solid AoE, does very little damage, but he normally uses that on white enemies if there's like one guy. But if there's like 5 dudes, he'll do a bigger slam with his fist. On a rare or a group of magics, he will do this giant, like, basically Hammer of the Gods style slam that chunks these rares and chunks bosses. Like, for the Secuma's twin bosses on floor 2, for the 4th Ascendancy, this was level 80 a trial. So that was like a level 81 area. He basically soloed those bosses. Like, I did some damage, yes, but when he slammed, it chunked them, and then he went right back for another one immediately. Because there were, I guess, 2 bosses, he just didn't care. He went in. So this has been a lot of damage added to the build for clear, specifically. While you're running around trying to set up your slams, he's swiping things in the background. He's proccing your Blasphemy Repulsion to give Cold Infusion. He's then, by doing that, slowing the enemies because you hit them, you're doing physical damage, you're going to get a chill. Now they're slowed because he touched them. They've been stunned because he touched them because he does solid damage. It's just really nice. Now, does he fall off in juiced content? I really don't know. I've done 1 Revive tier 15 maps, and he was still doing great damage the whole time. So, I don't know. It might just be broken. Or it's terrible and I'm just bad, so it looks like it's so much better than what my character is doing. Which could be the case. Whatever. But this is the savior of the build. And in terms of Death Knight, this is our ghoul. This is the minion. Whenever that guy or those guys ask every league for, can I play a Death Knight in PoE 2? Tell them put this helmet on when they get to level 65. This is their minion. This is the undead ghoul that follows you around. Except for, unlike World of Warcraft, it's useful. It's actually good. At least if you're a Frost DK, because that ghoul is absolutely useless on Frost. You shouldn't even summon it. I digress. I haven't played that game since Wrath, but even then, you wouldn't summon the ghoul. Now we got the amulet. We have just some life, some mana, some increased mana, and we got some strength and some resist. The strength should be int, but I wasn't paying attention. I didn't care when I bought it. We're allocating mental perseverance because 15 int and damage taken from mana for life is just good. This helped out a lot with our survivability as well. We're not getting one shot as much anymore. We have this ring. This ring's pretty bad. It has Percent Fire, some Flat Fizz, a reasonable amount of Flat Fizz, tier 1. It has tier 1 mana. It has some Fizz Leech for life, which is whatever. It's not very relevant. You don't notice it at all. We potion for our healing here. And we have some int. That's pretty much it. Then we have this other topaz with some mana, some chaos res, and some fire res. It's otherwise just sort of whatever. The evasion's pointless. The fizz is low, but it's an item. Then we got our body armor Just picked this up recently. It solved a lot of our defense. I got one shot once and got angry, so I had to buy a new base. That's all it is. Just what it's like sometimes. But we have a dance check for mana for life on here, and maximum life is extra, maximum runic ward. That's once again for refutation. This is just for the chaos res, and armor applies to Ellie and the life. The armor's nice too, I have to admit. It's solid. I'm not mad. Bought these ancient cuffs. They're pretty good. I was pretty happy with it. It cost a little bit. I think this was like 40x or a D or something like that. It probably was a div, even though it shouldn't have been. But this just gave me that 2 to melee skills that I forgot I needed. Because when I put this on, I actually ended up dropping a +2 to melee skills amulet that I totally forgot I was wearing. So this solved my damage back up to what it should have been in the first place. So that was really nice. Our boots are just some movement speed, some resist, some chaos res, some life. It's what it is. And some runic ward. I forgot is on here. I actually forgot. These boots have been on since I think level 65. And then we have this belt, which has also been on since basically I got to maps. Some resist, some life. The mana was an accident. That was not planned in the first place. It just happened to be there. And that's pretty much the main gear. Across the board, very basic, simple stuff. I haven't invested very much in this character. It's like 5-6 divs. So then we got our charms. We have this anti-slow. Chill ground is a killer for slams. It just destroys you. You can't pull off a slam when you're 50% slowed or whatever it is. And then we have use when you come stunned, stone charm. So we can actually get out of the chain stuns when we don't have refutation up, which is nice. Our Kali's gift to solve poison. That's all it is. We have just a bad flask here and a bad flask here. This one really doesn't need to exist. I have never once ran out of mana, like ever. But this one could be way better. This one doesn't even give us charges over time, so we actually run out during bosses, which is a problem because we cannot really heal otherwise. But yeah, so that's the character. Thank you for watching. I hope you come to the next video for a different character, hopefully one that will be a bit more powerful and I'm willing to invest more in. Because one thing about this character that's terrible is, see, it worked, right? And then it didn't. And it didn't. And it didn't. And then it did. Like, when you attack into the void, as you see on the map right here, if you ever are attacking off of the map or onto a rock, nothing happens with slams because they're ground target. So when you fight bosses like the giant in Act 2, the Titan, if you're too close to the edge, you'll just miss. And that was terrible. But that's part of the reason why I'm not very fond of maces. But I am very fond of the design of this character and how it feels. If I was a melee enjoyer, this would be my thing. But in terms of melee, nothing beats quarterstaff still. So that'll probably be what the next melee character is for me. Anyway, that's now all I have.